Hello world, it's time to open the green door and enter the strongest podcast there is, Gamma Charge.
Twice a month, Russell and I dive into the history of the Incredible Hulk in comics, film, TV, games, and more.
That's right, Justin, and we rate and review all the Jade Giants media, good and not so good, with a smash or a gamma clap. And we put on the rant pants when we just can't take it.
And join us on Patreon to get exclusive bonus podcasts, prizes, and more at patreon.com/Gamma Charge Hulk Podcast.
We will see you real soon, Gamma Beasts. Stay green.
Gamma Charge.
The strongest podcast there is.
Hi, I'm Erica Schultz, and you're listening to Into the Night, the Moonlight podcast.
Yes, welcome back, Looney listeners. You are listening to Into the Night, the Moonlight podcast. This is episode 304, and you are with your Hyper Seconchu, Ray. Hello, and joining me for this episode, it's been a while, but it's awesome to have him back.
Thank you.
Fellow Patroony, Frank, the think tank Dukes. Frank, welcome back. How you been?
Pretty good. Real busy lately, actually, like doing a lot of things, working and family and everything. And
yep.
You know.
You've been a bit busy also as well, Frank. We'll get into it as well. We're going to plug the hell out of it as well because you are one of our principal sponsors, but you've been busy with another podcast, yeah?
That is correct. We dropped the first episode. It's called I Want to Fight It. Basically, we'll be fighting cryptids, monsters, let me see, like comic book, movie villains, and we're giving our detailed accounts of how we would fight these things if we were to see them in the wild.
Awesome. And I know that it's only still kind of just starting a trailer, I think, and the first episode's dropped. I joined your Facebook group actually, and I urge all the loonies too as well. It's a lot of fun. I mean, I'm sure everyone's thought about, how would it go if I fought like a werewolf or some sort of monster. Your approval questions, Frank, I thought was a bit fun. Number one was, like, of course, how did you find out about it? So I just put in Frank, the think tank. I put that down. And the second one was, what monster would you like to fight, or something like, what would you like to see on the show?
Yeah.
And so I put down two things, Frank. I'm not sure if you had a chance to have a look.
Not yet.
Not yet. I put down the Monkey King. I'm not sure if you're familiar from the Chinese mythology. Yeah. He's an awesome character. Love him. So
I agree.
I put him in the mythological creatures, not monster, but not potentially not a villain, but he's in the myths. And I thought I'd throw you a curveball and just speak to my Filipino roots. There's a mythological creature in Filipino folklore, and I don't even get me to pronounce the name, but it's it's like a demon creature with wings, and apart from being vicious and stuff, apparently it detaches itself from its legs and it flies around legless.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So those are my 2 cents for that. But it's a lot of fun. Loonies, go check it out. I Want to Fight It. We'll have more details as the show progresses as well. Speaking of which, of the show, Frank, we do have you here for, of course, Moonlight related stuff. And if you look at the night sky as we are recording, or as you're listening, it is a waxing crescent. So that means we're doing a LUNAR-PICK modern run review. And for this episode, Frank and I will be looking at the final issue, the finale
Waxing Crescent.
Oh yes, Frank's got. There's a video as we recorded. Frank's got his moon on the phone. I'd like to see that. I don't want any less. But yes, we are looking at the final issue from the Bendis run from 2012. So Volume 6, Issue 12. Before any of that, of course, a big thank you, and I can say this directly to you, to all our Patroonies, to you, Frank. Thank you so much for contributing, being a part, and helping us prop up the show. Big thanks to Odin Odinsaw, Drew Toombs, Daniel Dewing, and Frank, who's in here with us, alongside CLZ Comics and Dreamland Comics from Schoenberg, Illinois. So Frank, it's going to be interesting. You said you gave this a bit of a read recently, just to refresh the memory, right?
Correct. Yes.
Yep. Do you have a different perception of it now as opposed to, say, when you read it before? Let's get it out there first.
Not really. It's pretty much the same.
Okay. Don't know whether that's good or bad, but I can't wait to hear your thoughts, Frank. We all know Bendis' run is, shall we say, a little bit divisive. So let's get into it. So what we're going to do, as I mentioned, a Modern Run review, just flashing that up there on the screen, released April 25th, 2012, and the cover date was for June 2012. Do you know why they have different dates there, Frank? I found out.
Yeah, I was wondering too. Like, was that like a digital release, and for like the Marvel Unlimited or something? I don't know.
I never knew before, but friends of the show, Russell from Gamma Charge, I think he mentioned in one of his old episodes. So you got the release date of when the comic actually releases, so April 25th, and the cover date, they put it on there. I think it's for the sellers to know how long to keep it on their shelves for. So all of June, you'd still have this issue on the shelf, and then come July 2012, I think they take it off. I think that's what it's for.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, it's still confusing for the consumer, but, credits for this writer, Brian Michael Bendis, the big BMB, penciler and inks, I'm assuming Alex Maleev, colorist Matt Hollingsworth, letterer Corey Petit, and editor Stephen Wacker. Now, this is available in floppy format, digital, Marvel Unlimited, and more recently on the Complete Collection trade paperback, which they've released shortly after or before, I can't remember the TV show. You got complete collections of the Lemire run, the Bemis run, and the Bendis run. Frank, what's your poison when it comes to formatting?
Floppy
all the way. Is that how you read it? Is that how you reread it?
Yeah. No. Right now I read the what do you call it? The Marvel Unlimited.
Yep. Yeah, it is handy. Yeah. So I was about to ask if you had that as well, because digital is pretty handy. I mean, I'm a bit of everything. I like the floppies, but I like the trades as well. But digital sometimes is quite handy. And so, listeners, in case you haven't listened to us before, what Frank and I will do, and Frank, can I ask to partake in the synopsis for us?
Yes.
It's a bare bones? Cool. So what we'll do, Frank and I will read a synopsis to give you kind of a roundabout summation of the issue. And then Frank and I'm so glad Frank has lived up to his name as the think tank. He's got copious notes. I saw it. It's similar to the TV show analyses that we pulled off when that show came out. Frank has some notes. We'll go through some key moments, and I'm just going to call them Frank notes afterwards, because let's face it, I can't wait. Can't wait to get stuck into it. And finally, we will cap it off with a moon rating system. A moon rating from our patented Konishu moon rating system. So, Frank, I noticed you haven't got it there, which is good, because it will be a surprise when we get up to it, what you rate it, for me at least, and for everyone listening.
All right.
Alrighty, so without any further ado, shall we get into the bare bones, Frank?
Yes, let's do that. Want me to start reading now? I got it right here.
Yeah.
All right. Is it Nefaria or Nefaria?
That's very good. I'd say Nefaria, but that could be, I don't know, is Nefaria better for US?
It sounds nefarious.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
right.
know. Nefaria. I don't know. Whatever comes in my mouth is gonna be what it is.
Do both of them. Chop and change.
Yes. In Nefaria's foyer awaits the LAPD. They wait for the Count to surrender, but they look to the skies to see a blaze take down one of their helicopters. He has escaped. News breaks at the station, which makes Snapdragon a high target. Captain Quaid personally grabs Snapdragon from her cell and tries to walk her out, but Nefaria arrives in the bullpen. He is disappointed in Quaid, as his payments to him was supposed to never allow the police to arrive, but Detective Hall's persistence has proven otherwise. Nefaria kills Quaid on the spot with gunfire, and gunfire erupts. Nefaria promises to speak to Snapdragon after, but Moonlight arrives in full Avengers gear.
The two battle in the police bullpen, which causes havoc. Snapdragon tries to fire at both of them, successfully grazing Nefaria, but Moonlight sends her outside. During their battle, Echo raises a point. He cannot kill Moonlight because only he has the Ultron head. He brings this to Nefaria, but the Count is still willing to kill Moonlight. After countless blows, and Mark barely hangs on to his life, and he finally gives in and confesses that the head is in his car in the parking lot. Nefaria drags him by the cape outside, only to be greeted by the Avengers. "You see them too, right?" Mark says. Nefaria tries to fight back, but Thor ends him with one blow.
Back at Mark's house, Tony Stark evaluates the Ultron head. He too can hardly believe that Mark had a real deal head. Tony believes that Nefaria wants to build an early allegiance with Ultron before assembling a new wave of Ultron bots. Tony takes away the head as their job is done.
And 3 months later, Mark arrives to the studio lot of his show. The Legend of Khonshu is cancelled. While Amy was a great producer's assistant, Mark does not have plans to continue the show. "If I've learned anything from all this, I'd rather die in a robot holocaust than spend another second in Hollywood."
Good for him.
Yeah. So there you go, Looney listeners. A nice, actually, I think it was a nice little summary from Wiki. So well done, whoever wrote that. Before we get into this, I'm just going to, just for those listening, we are doing video. So we're not doing a live stream, but apologies for any references to any visual aids. But I do have this up here so Frank and I can see the issue. So overall impressions, Frank, without getting into details just yet, after you put it down, you close the book, what did you make of issue 12?
Overall, I liked it. There's a few things that kind of nagged me, but overall it was well written and it had a lot of action. I like action. Action's
me
good.
too. Me too. Action's good. It didn't have as much of that Bendis-y dialogue speech, just going on for 4 or 5 pages. So that was good. We got some action. I enjoyed it. As far as finales and ending a series goes, I'm not too sure. Maybe I can tease out my absolute feelings for that as we discuss it further. But I'd say it's been roundabout consistent with the whole series. So take that as you will. But anyway, let's kick off with one of the key moments, right? So here are some just touchstones, as you probably heard in the bare bones of just throughout the issue. So first off, Nefaria comes to Captain Quaid and Snapdragon. So this kind of drives the main portion of the book. We see at the beginning that the LAPD are trying to apprehend Nefaria. I guess that's why he's pissed off at Quaid. But I thought this was pretty good. To be honest, I totally forgot about Captain Quaid and how he factors into the whole story, because I actually didn't go back and read 1 to 11 quickly. It's been a while. But yeah, I mean, an interesting dynamic with Snapdragon as well. What did you make of this kind of premise?
As far as the plot or the writing, all that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
Well, I thought it was written very well. But like I said, I had a gripe. The only gripe I had was when the count kept saying Moonlight, 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 Moonlight,
yeah.
Moonlight. I think he could have basically made some better conversation with that, something that moved the story along other than saying Moonlight, 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 like 5 times or something.
Yeah, I guess, Bendis was just trying to convey that he was shocked to see him there. But you're right. I mean, it's just get over it, Count. I mean, he's there now.
Yeah.
I mean, even Mark said, or Moon Knight says, I have a police scanner. Come on. It's not that hard to track you down. He was surprised that Moon Knight turned up. I mean, but also
he was like, why you? Like
true, that as well.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, but having on the flip side to that as well, Frank. I mean, Moon Knight's popped up and tried to, and kind of busted him in the previous issues as well. So he knows that Moon Knight's hanging around like a bad smell. I think it's a bit of both. I think you're right. I think it's one, how did you find me here at the police station? And 2, it's like you again, But I think, I mean, having also said that, superheroes turn up all the time. You know what I mean? And if anything, it would be more surprising to see Spider-Man because he's located in New York. So if Spider-Man turned up, I'd understand Cat Nefaria going, whoa, what are you doing here? He knows Moon Knight's in LA, So how many heroes are there in LA? There's not that many. So
no, probably not.
Yeah, unless the West Coast.
No one cares. Yeah, no one cares about the West Coast.
I must apologize to all.
No. I'm saying in the Marvel universe.
In the Marvel,
they all take care of New York and this and that. I live in Arizona. I'm on the West Coast, really.
Yeah. I know you got a very handy time zone as well, Frank, which is good. But true. There aren't that many, are there? I mean, the West Coast Avengers are the main ones. Yes. Spider-Woman has been known to go over to LA. I mean, again, Nefaria has seen Moon Knight here in LA. It shouldn't be a surprise that he's there.
Yes.
But speaking of action, Frank, what I liked about this arrival of Nefaria at the station is you see the full brunt of his kind of power.
Yes.
He's got Quaid kind of quivering and going, oh, sorry, look, I can't control everything. And I was going to give you Snapdragon because she kind of ousted Nefaria. But Nefaria's going, no, why did you should keep your kittens in the cage. Why did you get these guys to come out and come after me? Which is basically what we saw at the beginning.
Yes.
And I love this artwork. I mean, speaking of artwork, it's graphic enough. But I think it probably remains, I don't know, maybe within the I could be wrong, within the senses. But you basically see Quaid fried skeleton.
It reminded me of Mortal Kombat, like who was it? I think it was Scorpio or Scorpion, when he shoots off like fire and turns you to like a crispy charred skeleton. Like finish him.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I just remember someone ripping their bloody spine out, right? I can't remember who that is. But yeah, I mean, there's great action here, as you're saying. So if we're looking at Nefaria coming after Quaid, I found it cool how Snapdragon, she is not on the side of any of them. Like, how we see
she shot at both of them.
I love that. And Moon Knight goes, oh, that's not nice at all, because he's trying to. In effect, he's saving her because Nefaria is about to roast her as well.
Yes.
So I like that she's not obligated to either side. She's still her very much her own thing. I don't know. Do we see Snapdragon in any other iteration? I haven't done the research here, Frank.
I haven't done the research on that either.
No.
But I liked it was intense the whole time they were doing this whole battle and everything. Like, it was very intense, like the whole time. Like that was like 85% of the story was in this this area, this one spot, and it was the battle was nice because it's between 3 different people. Or really, if you want to count the captain, I mean, he didn't have a chance, but it was just cool to see like this battle between multiple factions.
Yep.
And it was nice.
It was good, and it's a strange setting. I loved actually how, and intentional or not, I love how Maleev, the angles that he uses, because you really do know. I got the vibes of the original Terminator. You know when the Terminator storms the precinct and he starts shooting all the cops and stuff. So you're in an office space basically, and I know this is probably just a really small detail, but I love how Maleev shows the expanse of the ceilings. You've got ceiling grid, and you've got the hung fluorescent lights. You know, all typical office fitting. So they're very much in a confined space, but it makes it dynamic because it's different. It's not often that you see fights of this nature, like in closed quarters, like offices. So I really appreciated that. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was nice, and the art. I like the layout. Basically. There's this one part where when Moonlight leaps towards Nefaria, and you see in the background, you see the Los Angeles map that's like really detailed. And
was that one?
Yeah, if you zoom in down there, you probably can't zoom in.
Okay,
but
yeah.
There's actually a map of Los Angeles in the background.
Oh,
it's like,
nice.
I was like, that was a nice touch. That's a lot of detail that was added there.
Yeah, I think for the most part, many Loonies will agree, art-wise, for this run, there's not much to really talk negative of. I think Maleev does a really good job. We've talked about how his depiction of Moonlight, which I love. I mean, again, if you look at this, there's a panel where Moonlight arrives. He says, "Boo," and Nefaria, he's got the shield. He's kind of got the nice dark, the vibe that we know modern Moonlight has. He's got the Finch kind of defined muscles and in the shadow, and his face is all shaded as well.
Yes, so, that's awesome.
Really cool. And the Billowing Cape. I mean, you don't see it as much here, but you see it towards the end. You see it at the very end. If I'm just going to jump straight to... so he uses, even on the last page, he uses the cape, although it doesn't make sense, but it's there as a visual effect. Whether Mark throws the cape off the ledge or something, I don't know. I don't think he does. I think it's just... thinking,
well, maybe.
Yeah. Oh, what were you thinking? Sorry.
Yeah, I was thinking that maybe he was just. I mean, I didn't think of it before till you mentioned it, but it does look like he's dropping it, like he's letting go of it. Like,
yeah, that's true. With this. Yeah, true. Exactly right. Because this last panel's like, I'm not going to spend another second in Hollywood, and he's almost throwing it off. I put that down in one of the themes for this issue. I think the theme here was basically similar to the end of the Benson run. It's Moonlight reclaiming. It's a reclamation of him as a superhero. Like, in which is a recurring theme for Moonlight. In Benson, he went down south, down to Mexico, and he was kind of lying low. But then at the end, he goes, okay, I'm going to go back to New York. I'm going to take on Norman Osborn. This thing, I think, is the same thing in the sense that, I'd rather die in a robot holocaust. I'd rather put on the Moonlight suit and do my superheroing bit rather than be a producer.
And it makes sense because I was going to say, wait. It makes sense because I lost my train of thought. I'll come back to it.
Okay.
It makes sense because like when he was talking to Tony Stark, usually they have like bad interactions with each other. But he was like, hey, you must not, maybe you're not as crazy as I thought or whatever, you're not cuckoo like Cocoa Puffs after all or something like. He's kind of like giving him props like, hey, you're a good superhero after all. So it kind of like guides to that.
Kind of acknowledges Moonlight, and that probably goes partly in the way of him deciding, okay, giving him the confidence. Because, again, Mark has been known to have very low self-esteem. I mean, there is the Houston run called The Bottom, where he's reached the bottom. It's good to hear that validation from Tony Stark. And even towards the end, just to what you were saying there, Frank, Tony Stark says something like... everyone has to... Agent Lime says, oh, he's nuts, talking about Mark. And then Tony Stark goes, oh, we all have to be to do what we do. So
Yes.
he again acknowledges that, that's nothing wrong with Moon Knight having these issues, because hey, you'd have to be crazy and just a bit, of a risk taker to be a superhero.
100%. Yeah, I agree with that. And something
Yeah.
I wanted to point out about the writing and everything, dialogue and stuff. I liked when the words were fading off as something was happening, like an action was happening, like when Nefaria was like, "You ungrateful," as she gets shot in the neck. It was like
yeah.
it happened a few different times, like two or three times when someone was saying something and the action happened to make them falter off. I
Yep.
think it happened to Quaid in the beginning. And then
Yes. Yeah, Quaid, yeah.
here it is. You, what do you say?
Yeah. Then,
You ungrateful. Yeah.
You ungrateful. he, gets, he gets shot in the neck. Jeez.
Yeah.
But he's I think again, just a refresher. I think Nefaria, he's super strong. Like he can go toe to toe with Thor and the Hulk apparently, and he can shoot. He's kind of like Superman. He can shoot eye beams and he can fly. So he's pretty durable. But yeah, he does cop a couple of hits. He gets stabbed by Moon Knight as well. Like Moon Knight.
He was taking a lot of damage.
Yeah, I think first up, where is it? First up here in the top panel, when they basically meet, Moon Knight leaps at him and he like stabs him, I think, with with his claws. So Nefaria's taken a lot of hits.
Took Thor's hammer to his face.
Yeah, and just further to that Wiki entry of the synopsis, yeah, Thor does kind of lay him out, but it is Moon Knight that kind of gives the last blow. Like whether or not Count Nefaria is unconscious or not already, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, the last panel's black, like as if that's the end of it. He's knocked out.
Yeah, that he's knocked out, yeah. So he must be kind of like, just on his last legs, and Mark comes up to him and goes, "This is for Echo," and, punches him out.
And something I wanted to say about that part as far as like, Moon Knight getting his butt kicked kind of. I felt like it was more like he was sacrificing himself. It wasn't like he was trying to waste time, wait for the Avengers to get there. He's like, well, I just, and that's a theme thing as far as like Moon Knight. A lot of times he'll play his role, even if it means like a lot of damage he'll take, knowing that his role being complete helps the greater mission. And that's what I like about Moon Knight.
Oh, no, absolutely. Yeah, me too as well. I mean, also, I put it to the fact that he kind of gets first dibs, first go at Nefaria, just because of the whole Echo thing. He gets to, and he does it at the end, but like he's going to try and hurt Nefaria, but he knows, I think he knows that the Avengers are coming. He does. He knows that they're coming. So he knows that. Yeah, he called them, but he may not have known exactly when they would turn up, but he wanted to get his bit in before they came in and did theirs.
Here's a question, though. I think it was Tony Stark that said, "I'm sorry we didn't come 5 minutes earlier." Now, do you think that they just happened to come at that time, or do you think they're kind of like waiting back to let their dog, do his work first, and then they'll come and clean it up?
I like to think that they heard all the noise from outside and like Thor and Iron Man just go, hang back, just let's see what happens here. If it goes crazy, maybe one of them is kind of, Iron Man is kind of sensing what's happening inside with his,
abilities,
thermal visions, abilities. So it's probably, okay, hang back, they're just fighting, just to make sure that Moon Knight's not in real trouble.
Yeah.
But so that's good. I mean, like, he knows that he's pretty much got Nefaria beat because he's got these guys coming. What did you think of the Avengers turning up, so to speak? That's a bit of a leading question because, I'll let you know, I love the splash of seeing them there, but they were pretty much, they weren't really used other than Thor.
That's true.
They
were deep, but they didn't really, all get their licks in. Only a couple did. Only one did.
Well, it's pretty much overkill. You got Thor. You're pretty sure that he's going to take care of what's going to happen. But
what did Thor say again? I forgot what he said right there.
Oh, I can't zoom in there. Hang on, I've got the book here.
Here. He says, "Stay thine hand, Nefaria." And then,
we know. Oh, we know exactly. I said, because he goes, Nefaria, you have no idea what I'm capable of, and Thor goes,
we're going to handle this.
So maybe it's just for I mean, obviously for Bendis, it's a nice kind of splash shot to get the Avengers there, and we know, I could be getting my timing wrong, around this time the new Avengers, right? So because I only say that because I see Spider-Woman in there.
Well, yeah.
So Bendis is, he's bleeding over the title that he's writing elsewhere. I mean, it makes sense. All writers do that. But yeah.
I liked how, with the writing too. I liked how each bubble for each Avenger, either the text or the font was different, or the bubble was different, or you can tell they're all different. Same thing with the authors that he had earlier. They were talking to him.
Okay, now this leads me actually, and actually before we move on, I agree as well. I love reading Thor in that old-fashioned text, because you just have in your head him speaking like a Shakespearean kind of person. But going to the alters then, Frank. Now, this is something that kind of stuck out for me, and I want to get your take first. So we, of course, know Spider-Man, Wolverine, Captain America are the alters in this iteration of Bendis' Moon Knight. What did you make of Echo turning up? I mean, that's the thing. Like, so if we go back to the whole DID thing or whatever, I don't know if when this book came out that was that was known yet. Like, because I know like there was a time when that was known, like because people were saying he was this or that, schizo or whatever. Yep. So I don't know at this time when this book came out if that was known or not. I don't think it was. Well, I think the term was definitely. I mean, they used the term DID in 2006.
But I mean, for him, I mean, I don't think it was attached to him yet.
Oh, okay, yeah, interesting. Yeah, I don't know. But in any case, I think you're right. I think even if it is out there and stuff, I don't think writers at that time were as kind of savvy. And you look at like now Jed McKay getting consultation from and like to name drop friend of the show like Doug and Lena who have DID. Writers now are a lot more cognizant of wanting to make things accurate. Yeah. Whereas I do think, Bendis here has a very kind of surface level understanding of DID, because it makes absolutely no sense that now Echo is an alter.
And Wolverine and all those things, like none of that really made any sense to me.
Yeah.
That's what lost me with this whole thing, was when he was Wolverine all of a sudden. I was like, wait. Like, what is this?
Yeah. I mean, it's cool, and I think from a marketing point of view, it very much I think it's driven. And whether or not it's Bendis, or I don't know if you've even confirmed whether it was editorial saying this is, maybe it is a Bendis pitch, but it's like, you get the you get the popular characters, Spider-Man, Wolverine, you get Captain America in there. This will be awesome. This will augment Moon Knight.
But my question is this. Okay, say you're a Wolverine fan and you collect all the Wolverine stuff. Would it be in his archives or whatever that he appeared in this book? Because it's not really him appearing there. So would it be Wolverine appearing or not? That's the question.
That's a good question. Yeah, I'd love to. Gosh, that's a good question. I might have to. I do know there's an absolute mega Wolverine fan. Wolver Steve is on Twitter. I'm going to ask him. Okay, do you consider this Wolverine part of? I mean, because a lot of people are completionists, right? So regardless of if it looks like Wolverine, it acts like him, then he's probably him. But we know that it isn't. It's meant to be part of his
psyche or
mindscape and stuff. But I mean, but Echo, I think it just didn't make sense that she's there. I kind of get what Bendis is doing. She's almost kind of like a Obi-Wan Kenobi or a Darth Vader. She's now one with the Force, and she's kind of like a vision in front of Moon Knight. But
I was liking how they were talking. They're both saying what they wanted him to say, and then Moon Knight went with Wolverine. What he said, he's like, I can't remember what he said. He said something slick.
Tell him it's time to make a deal. I think that's him. Oh, I think that's him. Or actually, Wolverine might be the grey one. I'm not sure. I mean, the brown one. Loonies were referring to the color of the text. So the
I think he's green. Yeah,
he's green. Okay, Wolverine's green. Yeah.
Or maybe I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah, I was thinking it was green first, but then Wolverine's more. You think more brown? I think.
But the first bubbles is to the left, and
Yeah, I know.
Wolverine's to the left.
That's
so
yeah, that's what I'm. Well, see, Brown. Look at the bottom there. It says gut him, and I don't think Echo would say that. I reckon Wolverine would say that. So in the yeah. So that
good eye.
tend to maybe yeah.
So he went with her instead. He went with Echo instead.
Which makes sense because they had a relationship. And you always take a grain of salt with what Wolverine says, don't you? I mean,
Yeah.
So I mean that was the main thing. But again, if you can suspend your disbelief with accuracies and whatever it is that is happening with Moon Knight's mind now, then you can take on board that Echo is part of there now. Regardless, I think it was kind of cool to have her there. I mean, as we've discovered now, she kind of counsels him, or it gives him good advice and what to do. So that's it was kind of sad when she died.
Yeah, and again, is that her giving him advice, or is it him thinking what would she do in this situation? Yes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Which I think it is. I think it is. It's his subconscious reading into her personality type, her identity, and what she would say. Or I mean, if you're taking it as DID, it's another alter from him, and somehow it's been generated all of a sudden. Which is very unlikely. We also get so we've mentioned the key Moon Knight bringing in the help, the Avengers, which is different. He did call them, but we also know he's very much a lone wolf character. So this is, if anything, maybe a slight development in him, acknowledging that he needs help.
Maybe the death propelled him into that direction.
Yeah. And I think it's a recurring thing throughout this series, throughout the 12 issues. And just from off the top of my head, I think it comes up and again about, whether he does. Because the Avengers do pop up, I think, earlier on as well. And then they go away. So I think that kind of comes and goes through this issue. We get also more of an idea, and this is what I really appreciated, because it never really was discussed. I mean, why Nefaria wants the Ultron head? So
until the end, I mean,
until the end,
yeah. Usually the bad guy's like, I'm going to take over the world, or that gives kind of explanation, but he did not. He just said he wanted it, or he didn't even say he wanted it. Mark said, "You want this, you need this,"
Yeah, exactly. And so we get an explanation from Tony Stark, and this is like so on the nose for kind of prepping readers for Age of Ultron, that's what this whole this whole volume was about. But I thought it was invaluable to hear from Tony Stark. There's finally a bit of exposition as to why this head is important, where it's going. So we know the Avengers, Tony Stark, are trying to capture these. What does he call it? It's part of the artificial intelligence, and the head is just one of its avatar bodies. So any portion of Ultron can gain AI. You know what I mean? And Ultron, similarly as you see in the movies, although his body's destroyed, if you can shift his AI somewhere else, i.e. another head, then that's potential danger. So the Avengers want to grab it, and then they deduce that Nefaria wants it maybe to kind of carry favor with Ultron, knowing that this apocalypse is coming, and
have a way for him not to die.
Exactly.
Hey, let me be down with you. Let me be part of your takeover or whatever.
Yeah, which is exactly. So a bit of insurance to make sure that he's not in the sugar caves, mining.
Yes.
While the ant overlords, Ultron overlords.
I mean, who knows? He might still just get offed.
Yeah, I mean, it could go any way, because we never get that real explanation. This is only secondhand off Tony Stark. Maybe Nefaria was going to try and blackmail Ultron or something. Who knows? Or maybe he was going to aid Ultron. But as you say, any outcome could have happened. But we just don't know. I would have liked, in retrospect, throughout this 12-issue run, I would have liked this explanation to come a little bit sooner, because it just, going through it all, it made it seem not worthless, but it just made it seem
There's no point or no
directionless,
Endgame.
rudderless as to why Nefaria wants this so bad, And so if we had an explanation a bit earlier, what's at stake,
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, instead of just saying it like in the last few pages of the final issue. So I think writing-wise, it would have been perhaps better too. And again, I might be wrong. Maybe there were hints dropped in the earlier issues. I can't remember. I'll have to go.
Yeah, I didn't go back and read all of them right now because this is like 10 years old. This book.
Oh yeah, it is. It's great that they're reprinting it and everything. So as I mentioned, it has recently been re-released, and it actually had been re-released as a hardcover, and in the 12 issues in hardcover. That was like maybe 2-3 years ago. So it's never out of print for a long time, listeners. So you should be able to, and even I think the floppies, Frank. I mean, they're not like $50 or anything like that. You can find them easily.
Although after the show, a lot of books started going up in price.
I know. How annoying was that, eh?
Very annoying. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Luckily, I have pretty much everything. I'm only missing like 5 books as far as his main ones. But as far as like featuring, I don't have all his features, but I have some.
Which 5 are you missing?
It's the Avengers of the Moonlight. I think it was like the odd numbers or the even numbers. I want to say it was like number 4, 6, and 8. I think it was.
Okay.
Something like that.
I'll have to. Yeah, Avengers of the Moonlight. It is a little bit harder to come by. Maybe it was a low print run or something. I don't know, but yeah. I've thankfully sorry.
The first cover, the first issue, the first cover, the Finch version, that one's so beautiful. It's my favorite cover of all Moonlight covers.
See, I haven't got it. I haven't got that one. I got the Alex Ross variant. I haven't got that cover. I'm looking for that one. Yeah,
that one's
that is a nice
so beautiful.
Cover.
Yeah,
you're talking about the orange cover, right?
Yeah, it's got orange and blue. I think it was.
Yeah. Okay.
No. Okay, it's the one where he's sitting on like a. I wonder if I have it right here. No. He's sitting on like a sign and it's like raining or whatever.
Oh, okay.
They kind of redid it recently, like in the last year. They kind of mimicked it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that is very good.
That was awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't got.
Maybe I can find it.
I think I'm missing the major one that I'm missing is Mark Spector Moonlight. I think it's 55. It's the Stephen Platt. His first issue. That's hard to find, and that's going for a pretty penny as well.
Which run or which volume?
Mark Spector Moonlight. It's the it's the first issue from Stephen Platt. It's when he's Moonlight on the front cover, but all his clothes, like all his costumes, torn and looks very much like a Todd McFarlane hyper detailed front cover. But that's I don't know. That's really hard to get. So.
I believe I have it. I'm not 100%.
I'm sure.
I'll look for it.
Yeah.
If so, I'll put a picture of it in the group.
Yeah, no, sure. I'm jealous of anyone that has it, and I know that a fair few loonies do have it, but it's one of my white whales left to get. Yeah. So anyway, I mean, so the Ultron kind of thing is established, and it leads perfectly in to the age of Ultron for at least Moon Knight's purposes, because he's now fully invested in being a superhero and he wants to jump into the fray. He even tells Tony Stark, "Let me know like when it happens," and Tony goes, "Oh, don't you worry, you'll know when it happens." Tony's actually he it's not if, it's just when. So
I found that I don't know where's the camera. This is the one.
That cover. Yeah. Oh right. Is it? That's not Vengeance of the Moon Knight, is it? That's just the
it's Vengeance of the Moon.
Oh, it is. Okay.
No, it's Vengeance of the Moon Knight. The very first issue is a Finch variant.
Yeah, right. I always thought that was. Yeah, I know that picture. I always thought that was. Yeah, right. That is a good pick. That is a good one. I'd love to get that as well. But yeah. Got to pick and choose the variant covers.
Yeah,
there's like
I get carried away sometimes.
Yeah, no, but it's good though. It's all good. Any other notes that we haven't covered, Frank, that you'd like to cover
As far as the characterizations, I like how Moon Knight is comical as usual with the "I have a police scanner." I mean, come on, this ain't my first rodeo. Monocle. He calls him the monocle.
Yeah, monocle. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the fact of it's rare for Tony Stark to be cool with Mark. That was different.
That was different. I did enjoy that. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Mark saying you see them too, right? About the Avengers, as if looking for confirmation that he wasn't crazy. Like he's trying to kind of like, I felt how I took it was he was kind of trying to figure out is this in my head or is this really happening? You know, like he struggles with what's real and what's not.
Yes, no, absolutely, and I think that was a really good one-liner that that Bendis put in there for Moon Knight as well. Because also I took it as well because it could be done. It could be taken multiple ways. That he's been beaten around the head so much by Nefaria, you know, he's starting to see things. So he's also going to go, oh, you see them as like he's half groggy, you know. But yeah, I think it's more from what you're saying. But I like to think that. I think that small statement kind of it evokes a lot of things you can say. So just going back to the Tony Stark relationship, because in the Benson run, so we're talking 2006 to 8, they're very heated, like Iron Man and Moon Knight, because of there's a whole Registration Act, you know, the whole Civil War. So they're quite hospitable. They're not hospitable towards each other. So it is cool that maybe also as well because Mark's giving Tony something he wants. I mean,
that's probably what it is.
He's done well, but I don't want to diss Tony because he's a great hero, and I know the High Priest Akonchi Rebecca likes him as well. So
we all know that.
Great points as well. I only had the other characterization. Nefaria, he's not really featured that much in comics, but I think Bendis captures his voice really well. Just he kind of like your pompous, arrogant arsehole, basically, and I think so. He's written quite well, you know, as villains go. And the only other last thing I had was in the art. Now, again, I don't know whether this is intentional or not. So, at the very beginning, we have Mark Spector, not Stephen Grant, as the producer for Legends of Khonshu, a TV show. Yes. Which is already kind of like, you're kind of like, huh? As Moon Knight fans go, because Mark's the mercenary, right? And Stephen's the business guy. Yeah. And then at the end here, look, I know it's probably not it, but I got Jake Lockley vibe. Yeah, I got Lockley vibes here, and the hat as well.
The hat, yeah.
And he's behind the wheel, but he's still Mark. So in a way, Bendis has incorporated the identities of Jake and Stephen into like Mark in this. And
he looks like a rich guy right there, you know?
He does. He looks like a rich guy as well, but again, he also looks like Lockley, like, you know, the taxi driver. Yeah. So I think it was a really kind of neat way of at least maybe nodding to the other identities, because they weren't. This is pretty much a Mark Spector spectacle, right? So I think it was good to at least nod towards that. Yeah, he had the full on moustache. That's right.
Yeah, that last panel at the bottom or whatever. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. I'm gonna make that my Facebook. What's it called? The little back
profile
thing.
Oh, no, the cover. What's it
called?
The header or something.
Cover art, because like
the cover art,
the legend of the Khonshu. Yeah, and then
that is
has him up front, and just looks nice.
He looks good, doesn't he? He looks good in that because he's got the facial hair at the bottom and just the moustache. I mean, again, there's a lot of great art in this, so there's nothing wrong, I think, on the art side. And take it what you will, like story-wise. So having said that, though, Frank, we're going to have to give this a rating. I might have to change my rating. I'll change it a little. But I'll ask you first.
Let me say one thing real quick.
Yep.
About the art.
Of course.
It felt like a comic book, the way it looked, more than like a cartoony. Because sometimes the art is too cartoony. Mm-hmm. And this one's like more like a rough. You know, it was rough. It was. I liked it a lot. So there was that, and that's it. Basically, I want to say it looked rough. It looked more like a comic book than sometimes it looked just too cartoony. So I like that.
You mean sometimes in other titles and like in other? Yeah. No, totally. No, yeah, I mean, I like Maleev's art as well. Like, he and Bendis do great work on Daredevil. And also he has done great work with Spider-Woman as well. So just a great artist. I really do enjoy it. Right, well,
Now, for the rating,
ratings, Frank, I'm going to give you first dibs at it. What would you give this Moon Knight Volume 6, Issue 12?
I picked 7,
7.
which is I'm trying to look for the actual name. Where is it? I lost it.
A solid, I think it's a
something, I don't know, I can't find it.
solid round boy.
Yeah,
I got
that
you
one.
down there. You got the
7.
solid round boy. 7
Boy?
out of 10. Boy. I originally gave it 6 out of 10, getting Small Moon. I'm going to bump it up a little bit to 6.5 because of the art as well. Just going through it again with you, Frank. And yeah, just discussing like the merits of it. You always kind of end up with a little bit more appreciation of a comic, I think, when you discuss it out loud. So it is a lot better, I think, than what I originally thought. 6.5, so heading towards a solid round boy. But yeah, but Looney listeners, let us know what you think. We don't have any feedback here, so that's cool. But never too late. Drop in a line. Let us know what you thought of, issue 12 or the whole series, a series as a whole. How did it feel? Did you read the whole thing from issues 1 to 12, and how does that read as opposed to serialized? Because I know I have trouble. It's been so long since I've read 1 to 11. It's hard to kind of remember.
And to be honest, I think that I started reading it, and then the whole Wolverine thing, and then it kind of like threw me off, and I just didn't really care much after that. Like I don't really recall too much of this issue. When I read it right now, so
yeah, me too. Other than, I just remembered the Avengers show up, and there was a little final showdown with Nefaria. That was basically it. That's what I remembered. Like before I reread it, But yeah, there are little things. Snapdragon, a bit of a loose end, because she just disappears. We don't know where she's gone.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah, open for Snapdragon the Mini. I don't know. So get your feedback in, Looney listeners, and we'd love to hear and discuss. We can discuss it on the next show. It's never too late. Frank, I want to thank you so much for jumping on.
Thank you for having me.
It's so cool. Every time I speak to you, and this is only the second time, I kind of want you back again for another, just to try different things. There's a classic run. We've got the Bendis run, to have you chat about, get your thoughts on the Jed McKay run, all that sort of stuff. So, no, thank you so much for making the time.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Check it out. Look at. Got the,
holy moly.
Got the Mr. Knight Papa.
I'm just so for listeners who can't see, Frank's just showing us behind him. Is that life size?
Yeah.
It is. Jeez,
I got it from the comic book store. They're like, hey, it's for sale. I'm like, that's awesome. When you're done, if you want to give it to me, like, no, it's for sale. I was like, well, how much? And this thing was like $60 or something. Like,
nice.
Take my money.
Awesome. So it's a cutout, a live cutout of Mr. Knight. Yeah. We can see from there. Yeah. So every time Frank goes to bed or wakes up in the middle of the night, he'll see Mr. Knight just staring.
Well, I put it in my son's room. My son moved out, and he has his own apartment now, and we put it in his room. So when he walked by his door, it's just there. And it even startled me one day. One day I thought someone was in his room. I was like, whoa, who is that? My wife got scared of it. The dogs bark at it.
That's why it's all in white, man. The people can see him coming. Like he wants to be seen. So
so now he's part of the family. The dogs don't bark at him no more. We all know he's there, and he watches over us while we sleep.
Exactly. You are fully safe at night. You can be sure of that. Yes. Before we go, Spector, Frank, I wanted to give your podcast with your nephew a shout out. What's your nephew's name as well?
Well, on the podcast he goes by Pablo Candy Bar. Not to be confused with Pablo Escobar, but Pablo Candy Bar.
Pablo Candy Bar. Please check it out. Yeah, and Frank, it's a new podcast with Frank and Pablo. I Want to Fight It. And as mentioned, there's a trailer and the first episode. I've got the links in the show notes for Facebook and the Instagram. Go check it out. Go sign up. Go join. But I know, Frank, you did mention off air there is a website in the works, but
Yes.
we'll get that out. And don't you worry, Looney listeners, Frank, basically, one of the principal sponsors. So we'll be shouting out, "I want to fight it" every episode. Go check it out.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Or anything else you want to shout out as well? Had you been doing any other guest appearances anywhere, or?
Not no. This here is the first time in a while.
Okay.
Let me see what else. We're trying to get Learning the Curse back up and running, but
Nice.
I don't just everyone's schedules is kind of crazy, so it's kind of hard. The cool thing is my nephew and I work together at the same job. He's 19 years old, so we both work at the same job. So when we get off work, we can just come straight here and record,
Nice.
or we can do it in the car. I can bring my Zoom. We can do it in the car wherever we're at. So.
Yeah. I've done a couple of recordings in cars as well, and it's not as bad. It's not as bad because it's kind of, you close the doors and stuff. It's nice and kind of quiet and isolated.
It is. Yeah.
So yeah, that's cool. As I mentioned, we'll definitely put everything there in the show notes. Let Frank know as well what monster, what villain, what cryptid, or what mythological creature you'd like to see fought.
Yes.
And so the idea, Frank, as well is that it's like you fighting, like you, Frank,
me,
and Pablo. Yeah.
My nephew and I. Basically what happens, we start off by giving information about the creature or the villain or whatever it is, a backstory, so you understand what kind of character they are, and then from there we go into how we would attack. We give our details of how we would attack it and destroy it, and then basically. I'm going to make I do graphic design and stuff. I'm going to make like a virtual trophy room. And whenever we defeat whatever character, like say we make a fur coat out of Bigfoot or something, it'll be hanging up in the, the virtual trophy room. So, it's all stuff we have ideas of doing. And eventually we want to do where we have beast versus beast. Like let's say, Jeepers Creepers versus, I don't know, Predator, saying like, we talk about who would win and why would they win, and just having fun with fights.
Yeah, no, that's great. No, I can't wait to hear more of this stuff. But yeah, check it out. Tell everyone I want to fight it. Also, another spectacle. Just wanted to. I make an appearance on Capes and Lunatics. On the Wondercast. It's only a mini 2-episode show. We cover the 90s series of Wonder Man, Simon Williams. So we're doing, I think we do issue 16 to 29 and annual 2. I had a really good time chatting with the boys over there about Wonder Man. Really cool. Are you a fan? Do you know much about Wonder Man?
I do not know much at all. Honestly,
he's a cool character, Frank. You got to check it. He's a cool character. Wonder Man.
I'll look into it. I know. I'll tell you this much. My wife is all into Wonder Woman. I don't know if you can see on the back right there.
Yeah, I remember you were saying, Yes, right, what I was about, Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, and like, look, check it out. Got her blanket and everything.
Oh, love it. Oh, awesome.
So,
that's so cool. Yeah, Wonder Woman she rocks as well.
She does.
I can't say much about, she's like a goddess. So, yes, so next phase, Loonies, episode 305, it will be a waxing gibbous. So that is an other side of the moon, which means we're going to look at the other side of some of the creators that have been on Moon Knight, like the other sort of stuff they do. So TBC, just keep your eyes and ears peeled for what that will be. It could be anything from, I think last time we did Declan Shalvey's Bog Bodies. That was his Image-released original graphic novel. But of course, Declan Shalvey, synonymous with Moon Knight in his run with Warren Ellis. So that'll be fun to find out what to see what we do. I'll have a guest, and that'll be great. As always, as well, a huge thank you again to the likes of Frank. We can't do this show without the likes of Frank. Big thanks to Odin, Daniel, Drew, Frank right here with us, Justin, Derek, Wayne, Josh, Anthony, Russell, Michael, Mario, Matthew, and Jonathan. Thank you so much, everyone, and thank you so much for contributing in the groups and getting the discussions flowing. It's really cool. It's really great. Let's keep the. I wanted to ask you, Frank, as well. Have you rewatched Moon Knight?
I haven't watched it. I wanted to. I wanted to go back and rewatch it again, but I have not. We've been watching a lot of different crazy stuff like C. I don't know if you've seen C. It's SEE. It has Jason Momoa in it.
Oh, okay.
And it's basically everyone's blind now, like some kind of plague or something happened, and everyone's blind. Like 500 years later, everyone's been blind. But then some kids were born with sight, and then so there's like whole wars, and both sides are blind, and they're just swinging stuff and like killing each other. It's a pretty cool show.
That's cool. Where's that?
I've been watching that. That's on Apple TV Plus.
Apple TV. Okay.
I believe.
Cool. Oh, okay. Yeah. No, just interesting because like last time we had you on. We obviously did the reviews and discussions of the Moonlight TV show. I think I've watched the odd, like the random. I think I watched the last one again, and then I watched I think it was episode 5, the one about revealing, his history a bit more and about his mum. Yeah, that's good. But I got to watch the whole thing again.
I want to go back and watch it again. And then they made something afterwards. It's kind of like a behind the scenes or something.
Yes,
I didn't even get a chance to check that out yet.
Oh, check it out, Frank. It's really good, and it's really insightful as to and you can see how excited Oscar is about playing Moon Knight. So it's definitely worth checking out. You should, for sure. So please check out patreon.com/ITK Moon Knight if you want to become a Patreon member. There are bonus incentives, like for instance, I will release this video to Patroonies, so you can see what Frank and I are referring to. Just a bit more fun to
I just wanted to say that I got my shirt and I wanted to take a picture and post it up in the group, but I haven't got a chance to. But thank you for the shirt. It's awesome.
No worries. Yeah, I've got to again. Patreon, got to thank them. It just makes it so easy to make sure that all the Patroonies and Patreons, get their incentives. So yeah, check it out. There's plenty of stuff there, bonus episodes, that sort of stuff. I think the last bonus episode I did, I was totally off my rocker. we did a Let's Get Sheet Faced. I did it with Chad and. I drank nearly a bottle of whiskey, and I tell you, it was pretty bad. Pretty bad later on. Anyway, I don't.
It's organic. It was organic.
It's organic, yes, and drink responsibly, everybody, please. Of course. Yes, a big thank you once again to our principal sponsors, Odin, Odin Sword, Frank, the Think Tank, Dukes, of course, and go check out I Want to Fight It podcast. Odin's got a podcast as well. Speaking of drinking responsibly, Drinking Marvel podcast. So go check out Odin's podcast there. Daniel Doing's Fringe Knight, awesome original indie comic based on Erie, Pennsylvania's very own mysterious superhero. You can support him at patreon.com/FringeKnight27. Our good mate there over doing fine music, Drew Toombs. Go check out his music over at soundcloud.com/Toombs with a Z and Lurk Music. So that's Lurk Music with a CK.bandcamp.com. Absolute gun, Drew is. CLZ Comics, get your database all in order. Frank,
I have mine.
You have, excellent. Are you loving it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All I put is my Moon Knight stuff in there. I don't put nothing else I have, just my Moon Knight stuff in there. I just want to keep track of those,
Absolutely. Well, because, I buy, stuff off Facebook Marketplace and eBay and all that, and sometimes it's up to like 50-odd comics, and it's a good way to track what you have ordered. Yeah. And then once you get it, you can actually log it in as part of your collection. So it's a good way to keep track in case you tend to buy crazy.
They also have a music one, which I have their music one too. I pay for a subscription and all that stuff. Yeah. Yep. It's awesome.
Music, I think they have books. They have also Blu-rays, I think. Blu-ray movies.
I think they have games. They have a lot of them.
It's fantastic. And I will say as well, I'm going to shout out to CLZ Comics, at least, they are reintroducing prices again. So you'll be able to see the market value of your comics, the latest and greatest, all updated. Because they had some problem last time and they had to take those price guides off. But they've now had they've gone into partnership with another price guiding company. And now, so they'll be reintroduced, which is amazing.
That is awesome.
Yeah, a lot of collectors love it because you can, if you are selling your stuff, you want to know rough value of what it is, and you don't want to sell your Incredible Hulk 181 for like $2. You know what I mean?
And free shipping.
You're too good a person if you do that. And finally, Dreamland Comics, use the code MOON and you get 20% off your online purchase. And again, very lastly, we're part of the collective. So many great shows. The link is in the show notes. Go check them out. Trapped in a World, the Howard the Duck podcast. I'm wearing the shirt now. It's hosted by Noel, a good friend. And again, people will know Noel. He is the frontman to the band that has supplied the Into the Night music. So fantastic podcast, Howard the Duck, great stuff. And I'll also shout out Inner Demons, a Ghost Rider podcast, and I can't not shout out Gamma Charge, the Hulk podcast, the strongest podcast there is. You can finally as well, just bear with me here, Frank, because I always forget to do this. So yes, of course, a big thank you, of course, to our Patroonies, and again, just because I forgot, video-wise. And you can contact us on those platforms, email on the website, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, even YouTube, and Get Vocal, and Discord as well. So go check all of that stuff out. Frank, once again, a huge thank you, my good man. It's hopefully not too late for you now, because I know our times are pretty good.
It's only 9 o'clock here.
Yeah.
The night is young.
Excellent. Oh, bloody, you can watch 3 movies.
Yes.
With that, everybody have a good one. I hope you've enjoyed the Bendis run, and may Conchi watch over the denizens of the night. Catch you later.
Of the night.
Yeah.
Moon Knight and affiliated characters, stories and events are properties of Marvel Characters Incorporated. Materials used and discussed within the podcast are intended for critique and review purposes only under the fair dealing concept of the current Copyright Act. The views, information or opinions expressed during the podcast are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of the copyright owners.